Well, hello again, everyone. This time for a midweek look at how the Wagon Wheel has performed since I started talking about it way back in October-ish of last year. And this was sort of prompted by a comment from Paul, who said, "Good afternoon, John. Not looking at giving you any homework, but I was thinking, wondering, intrigued perhaps, what if the total amount that's been outlaid, at times more than one horse per race, if that same amount was spread over all the races as equal an amount, that's level stakes, but only on one horse per race, that's the top rated one, even if it's not a value horse. Cheers, looking forward to the Friday post," from Paul. And yep, said I'd have a look at that. And here we are, 6 days ago. I responded, shouldn't take too long, and I finally got around to it. But before we do get into that, the salty comment of the most recent period, "John, maybe you should change the rules so you give the tips after the race has actually been run. See if this helps improve your strike rate." Well, of course, that would be the perfect solution, wouldn't it? And I guess the viewer is commenting on the fact that the strike rate has now fallen down after 94 races to 27.7%, so barely 1 in 4 successful attempts at selecting the winner of the race. Return on investment now standing at minus 5.4%, but last Saturday was the first successful day, I think it is, well, reasonably successful anyway, for quite some time. I did back 2 winners out of my 5 bets for quite a nice improvement in the overall position, but the bank is still down $120. So those selections last week, 4 in Sydney in the legs of the quaddie, and then 4 in Melbourne also in the legs of the quaddie, and we've been doing that for 3 weeks. Now, had I bet on all of them, as Paul was suggesting, there would have been an outlay if I'd been betting, say, $20 on every race, ignoring the value metric, investment of $160 for a return of $301 at the starting price of the horse. Now, the prices that I managed to secure on Betfair on Kerwin's Lane, I think, was $7.60. I got about $3.80, I think, on Sir Davy. And what else did I bet? Oh, they're the only 2 winners I got, of course. So I did marginally better once you take the commission out by betting on Betfair, as I was mentioning last Saturday. And looking at the results overall since I've revised the Wagon Wheel, and if we applied it to having a bet in every leg of the quaddie over the last 3 weeks since that adjustment was made, 24 bets for 9 winners, so that's a strike rate of 37.5%, 38% if you round it up, and $480 out if you're betting $20 every race for $598 back, for a return on investment of 24.6%, which is pretty reasonable, I think. But let's go to the spreadsheet of all of the results for the Wagon since I started talking about it prior to the Melbourne Cup last year, and we'll follow Paul's suggestion and see what sort of results would have eventuated had you bet at starting price on all of the top selections in each of the races that I had selected. And so going way back, I think this is to the Toorak Handicap. The winner was I'm Thunderstruck. It was the top selection. And the strategy got off to an extraordinary start with 5 winners picked in the first 5 races. And of course, that couldn't possibly have continued on. Then we had Twilight Payment that I was very confident on in the Melbourne Cup, and it didn't make the grade. And then we move on and work our way through all of the bets. Now, I'll upload this to Google Sheets so you can have a look at it. These are more or less in race order, not necessarily once you get into a meeting, because these are coming like all in one racetrack, then another racetrack, then another racetrack. So they're not necessarily in time order, but they're more or less in the right order. So you can see how the progress would have gone as we go through until we get down to the very bottom, finishing up with Sir Davy last Saturday. If we'd bet $100 straight out, we can put any number in there you like, I guess, but I just put 100 in for the sake of argument. $10,600 invested, so 106 races. that I've done the wagon on the races that I selected because I thought they were likely candidates, apart from the last 24 races beginning here at Moroney, which were on the four legs of the quaddie in Melbourne and Sydney. So there has been a change from that point onwards. But looking at it overall, we can see a return of 15,068 for a return on investment of 42% and a strike rate of 36%, both of which, of course, are quite pleasing. So, you know, the strategy, I guess, is standing up. And what it does say about my decision to invest only on the value bets is that in hindsight, that has been a poor decision. And we've been going now for almost 6 months. And probably now, I think I've got enough evidence to suggest that that value proposition, at least as far as the wagon wheel is concerned, is something that I'm going to jettison from now on and just be betting on the top selection. Now, what sort of results have we got if we had done that? Well, I've got them ranked in order from the lowest price horse up to the highest price. Let me just put a freeze pane in there so we can then scroll that up underneath the headers. Now, if we had bet on any of the odds-on favourites, in other words, all the horses under $2, betting on all of those is not really worth your while. Number one, there weren't very many selections that were odds-on favourite, and I think the wagon wheel tends to do that. It tends to avoid finding the favourite necessarily when they're that short. But whatever the case, there were 2 losing bets, and in total you would have lost 1.7%. And that pretty much mirrors what is the case if you look at all of the research on betting on horses, that betting on odds-on favourites in the long run is pretty much a diabolical strategy to try to employ. If we then move on and look at all the horses priced in the $2 range, which finishes through to here, the profit on that one is 45%. If you then move on into the $3 range, negative 25.7%. Now, you know, I think that is just an anomaly. There's no reason to think that the horses priced at $3 just haven't got any chance of winning. I think it's because the database, the sample set, if you like, is still pretty small. You know, less than 100 races is not really a massive database to be making any conclusive decisions on. But, you know, it's there, that's what they are, what the numbers are. And perhaps a good idea might be to put together the $2 and $3 horses, in which case overall it would be profitable to the tune of around about 20%. If we then move on and look at the horses priced in the $4 to $5 range, 92.9% return. You've seen quite a number of winners in there, a very, very good profit. And then looking at the horses priced in the $6 to $7 bracket, another really nice set of results, 72% return there, only found 4 winners. But of course, if you're betting on horses at $6 or $7, you know, you wouldn't be expecting to get a lot of winners. They're going to be not few and far between, but certainly not as frequent as betting on horses which are much closer to favouritism. And then moving on to the $8, $9 and $10 horses, just grouping them together, profit of 108%. And then finally, I've gone from $8 to $12 just to make sure I included those 2 losers in there. Otherwise, the result here would have been like 120 or 130%, I think. And then moving on, as I've mentioned previously, the higher priced horses just don't seem to win. And you lost 100% betting on any of the horses priced above $12. And so there we are. Overall return on investment of 42%. Strike rate, coming back over here just to check that, 36%. And then coming back to have a look at the groupings, it would seem to me that the logical thing to be doing going forwards is if you come up with a top selection that's priced above $12, you don't bet on it. And if you come up with a selection which is priced at less than $2, you don't bet on that either. Now, if we do the numbers on that, so in other words, we start from, let's say, so if we start from here at Extreme Warrior at $2, and then we move up and include all of the horses up to Confrontational at $12 and work out the return on that, let's do it over here. So it'll be equal to the sum of all of the returns. So from there up to the $200 for Extreme Warrior, in bracket divided by the sum of, and then we'll sum the investments down to $100. Keep going, John. There we go. -1, enter, and we're talking about 60% return. Percentage there, 60% return. Yeah, look, I was all excited at the start of the wagon when we're getting those awesomely good results, and here I am getting all excited again. Thanks so much to Paul for asking me to check this out. But the numbers are what the numbers are. Early days still, I think. Pretty nice overall, though, if you just bet on every one of them. And that's it, I guess, for this video. Apart from having a look at the graph of the cumulative profit, as you can see when we began back in October or early November-ish, awesomely good run as we found those 5 winners in a row, and then a bit of a lean period, and then it went beautifully up until here, and this was sort of around about the start of 2022, and we're now pretty much treading water, although over the last little period we are in a bit of positive momentum here. Not that that necessarily means anything going forwards, but there we are at nearly $4,500 profit on a bit over $10,000 of investment overall. So happy punting. Let's see whether this sort of trend can continue, whether it's going to taper off and fall down. Only the future's going to tell for us, but gee whiz, if we can maintain that 35 to 40% strike rate, because of the way it tends to avoid short-priced horses, we have some sort of a chance, I think, of getting that bank to grow for us over time.